The Bill of Rights, which includes the First Amendment protection for free speech, was meant to give people the flexibility to live life on their own terms. But it wasn't a blank check. Federal courts have written thousands of pages about how your right to free speech can and cannot be limited. From honking your car horn, which is generally not protected, to cases of life and death, like when a person says something that is meant to incite violence.
The incitement test says three things. One is the speaker has to intend that another person is going to engage in unlawful or violent conduct, that it is likely that this other person will engage in that conduct, and that behavior is imminent.
Often courts are asked to weigh in when states or cities make laws to limit free speech. In Lincoln, Nebraska, Chesterfield County, Virginia, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, lawmakers tried to ban fortune telling. But their efforts were blocked in every case as courts said the laws were too targeted.
When courts engage in analysis of whether a law passes constitutional muster, they look to see if the law is content-based or content-neutral.
This year, more than 14 states are considering some sort of limit on drag performances. Experts say those laws may not survive a legal challenge either.
Certainly, the anti-drag laws are content-based laws because they're going after a certain type of speech.
The issue appears destined for the courts. In the meantime, the people behind drag shows and the people who want to limit them are both exercising their rights to free speech in the streets.
So our goal is to end these shows in the state of Texas because we don't believe that a drag show is a place to bring kids. And so we come out and protest and, we're just hoping that we can put some pressure on our lawmakers and these venues to get these shows banned.
Kelly Neidert is the voice behind Protect Texas Kids, a group opposed to drag shows, usually grounded in a fear of exposing kids to gender-bending, sexually explicit content. Last year she tweeted, "Let's start rounding up people who participate in pride events." Neidert and other social conservatives use Twitter to publicize and stoke opposition to these events, which in turn are often used as recruiting tools by fascists and neo-Nazis.
I've been very vocal about disavowing them, and I can't control if they show up or not. I can tell them to leave and they won't, which is what happens. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to just not do anything because certain bad people might show up.
Posts targeting drag shows spread like wildfire online. The aim, to characterize drag shows as harmful to children, an accusation critics say is dangerous towards the LGBTQ community. Drag organizers say there is a spectrum of types of events, from G-rated to NC-17, where kids wouldn't be invited. That was the case at a recent event we attended in San Antonio. Portions were sexually explicit, but Scripps News did not observe any children in attendance.
So in Texas and all across the country, but in Texas in particular, what we've seen is this sort of pattern emerging around drag shows and LGBTQ plus events.
But it's not just Texas. GLAAD has tracked nearly 150 anti-drag protests and threats in the past year in virtually every state. Independent journalist Stephen Monticelli has documented many of them and says what may be genuinely held concerns about drag shows are often twisted.
And despite the presence of open extremists, fascists, card-carrying Nazis, the right-wing media does not ever really focus on their presence, and they tend to exclusively focus on the response to these protests, these calls to action, and the presence of these extremists, which tends to be armed community defense groups.
For example, the FBI-designated right-wing extremist militia, This Is Texas Freedom Force, publicized their protest of that San Antonio drag show in December. They came armed. Members of the fascist group Patriot Front joined them, as well as religious fundamentalists. Scripps News was there amid a show of forced stare-off.
I can tell you, these people that are over here are not trained like our guys. Our guys go through multiple trainings through our organization, plus half the guys you see out here are Marine Corps or they're former law enforcement.
Across the street, another heavily armed group clad all in black, some wearing rainbow armbands providing protection to drag show supporters.
Drag is just essentially an all-inclusive art form. People sing, people dance, people do different kinds of makeup.
We deserve every right and protection that they do too. We have the, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. We're normal people too. We just want to live and be happy.
Up next on The Race, we'll show you how a new generation is learning to have tough conversations.